America. Act 9, Scene 1. It's been a few weeks since Mr. Terupt went into a coma. I felt numb when I first heard. My mother got a phone call on the night it happened from Mrs. Worms. The principal was calling all the parents. Mom hung up the telephone and explained his situation. I sat paralyzed, unable to move or speak. It was the second time in less than a year that I was in disbelief. The first time was when Mom told me about Dad and his girlfriend. The day after the accident, our class had a substitute. I don't remember her name. I only remember our classroom being silent. We were given some silly worksheet to keep us busy, but no one could concentrate, not even look. Instead, we stared blankly at the papers or out the window. Each of us lost in an ocean of thoughts and a roller coaster of emotion. Mrs. Worms came into our classroom later that morning. Boys and girls, I came up here to talk to you about Mr. Terupt, she said from the front of the room. I want to know the truth and not some rumor that might be floating around. Mr. Terupt is in a coma, which means he's not concussion. That wasn't all Mrs. Worms said, but that's all I remember. I already knew the truth, but I wasn't ready to hear her or anyone else talk about it so freely. I knew about comas. People don't always wake up from them. It wasn't fair. I needed comfort. I wanted to read Bridge to Terrapinti and Missing May. I wanted the company of Jess, Aaron, and Summer and Uncle Ob. Before Mrs. Worms finished, I did hear one other thing she said. She claimed that the snowball incident was an accident, not anyone's fault. I sure didn't believe that, and I know my classmate didn't either. I wonder if Mrs. Worms thought that Mr. Terupt had let things go too far, and if she did, would he be getting in trouble? I sure hope not. He's been delated enough already. Besides, Mrs. Worms was the one who gave us special permission to go outside. We could blame her, but I didn't want to see anyone get in trouble. I just wanted Mr. Terupt to wake up and fix this mess. Luke! I wanted to go and see Mr. Terupt. My mom and dad didn't think it was a good idea, but I wouldn't listen. I didn't stop pestering them about it. I needed to go. Eventually, they gave in. I stepped off the hospital elevator and stared down the long hall. Mr. Terupt was in one of those rooms. Nurses moved around behind some desks. I heard some of them laughing. How could they laugh? How could they laugh when my teacher was in a coma? They grew quiet as I walked past. I felt some of them look at me and my mom, but I just kept walking until I saw his name on the door. Terupt, room 404. A planned room just like our classroom. I stopped and took a deep breath. I felt Mom's hand on my shoulder. I walked in. I saw him on his back, perfectly still in his bed. Tubes poked into his arms. A mask covered his face. Machines beeped. His eyes stayed closed. He didn't move, not an inch. Only his chest rose up, then fell down with each feral breath. I wanted to say something. I wanted to tell Mr. Terupt I was there. I wanted to tell him he was going to be okay. I wanted to, but I couldn't. I tried, and I felt a lump in my throat again to choke me. I didn't want to cry. I told myself not to cry. I had coaxed myself not to cry, but I couldn't stop it. Tears welled up in my eyes and fell down my cheeks. I turned and ran out of the room. Mr. Terupt was going to die. I just knew it. I saw him. I saw what he looked like. He was going to die. My teacher was going to die. The elevator doors opened and I stepped in, my mom right behind me. How could he have let this happen? Why did he put so much trust in us? He could have learned from my planned concoction. He knew it probably wasn't a good idea, but he let me do it anyway. Just like he knew our rough play outside probably wasn't a good idea, but he let it go again. He should have yelled at us. He should have yelled at Peter for the frisbee. He should have yelled at him for the puddle of water. He should have yelled so that we knew he was serious. Then this never would have happened. He should have stopped us. Now he was going to die. We stepped off the elevator and walked to our car. As we pulled away, I saw the word hospital written on a sign. Mr. Turupt said in the hospital. I almost smiled. Jeffrey. Terupt in coma. I know that's what that's all about. I remember when I was little. Comas are terrifying. I'm never going back to a hospital. Those places are full of bad memories and bad luck. I would like to see Terupt, but I can't visit him. I can't do it. Luke told me it was scary. I know. People in comas die. It should have been in that coma, not Michael. It should be me in that coma, not Terupt. Peter Snowball should have hit me. Now our teacher's gonna die. This sucks. School sucks. Everything sucks. It was better when I didn't care. Anna, I heard Luke telling Jeffrey that he went to see Mr. Terupt in the hospital, that it was awful, and that Mr. Terupt wasn't awake or moving. But I couldn't help feeling the way I did. I wanted to go and see him too. I just didn't think I could do it alone. So I asked Jessica and Delaney to go with me. We sat at lunch and we were quiet. No one talked much, not since the accident. Anna, what's wrong? Jessica asked. She's always at knowing when something's not right. Nothing, I said. I put my PPJ apart. Just tell us, Delaney said. I still didn't say anything. I focused on my sandwich, picking at it but not eating. Come on, Delaney argued. I blurted out, I want to go and see him. Silence. I brushed my sandwich pieces into a pile. I noticed Delaney and Jessica weren't eating either. Three of us buzzed ourselves with staring at our food. Me too, Jessica finally said. Really? Delaney said, aren't you guys scared to go? Yes, I said. I scooched forward, so let's go together. Will you guys go with me? I will, Jessica said, pushing her food aside. You think your parents will let you go? Delaney asked. She was asking both of us, but I already asked my mom. She said she'll take us. I'll try, Delaney said. I want to go. We're stronger when we stick together, remember? Jessica said, just like Mr. Terupt told us. Her voice got quiet as she mentioned his name. We got quiet. We didn't talk about him anymore. It hurt too much. Delaney, I knew Mom and Grandma would have a fit about me going to the hospital with Anna, especially with her mother, but I didn't care. Not this time. I found the courage to ask them because it was important to me. We were sitting in the kitchen preparing dinner. I peeled the potatoes. Grandma peeled the apples for one of her delicious pies. Mom managed everything else. When do you think the snow gonna be gone? Grandma asked. Farmers love to talk weather. A nice hot apple pie did sound wonderful in this cold, snowy weather. I inhaled deeply and then took the plunge. I want to go and see my teacher, I said. Anna's mother is driving her and Jessica. I would like to go with them. You're not going anywhere with that girl and her mother. We have already told you that, Grandma snapped. Mother, Mom said, I'll handle this. Keep an eye on dinner. Delaney, come with me. I don't like it, Grandma said. Apple peels missed the pile and fell into the floor. I'm so grateful Mom pulled me away. I love Grandma, but she's like a piece of iron, unbendable, and forget about the teacher thing in her mind. A teacher is still the person that wraps you on the ankles with a ruler or across the black side with a paddle. She doesn't give Mr. Terupt at all. According to Grandma, this whole incident was his own fault. Seems to be the teacher of yours has only himself to blame, Grandma said one night while doing dishes. If he had more control over them boys, especially that Peter, this wouldn't have happened. I stopped drying the plate in my hands. He needed a licking a month ago, and a good teacher would have given one. My plate smashed into the kitchen floor. I didn't mean to drop it. Mom, on the other hand, she gets it. I have told her about Mr. Terupt many times, so I know she understands how special he is. We sat on my bed, side by side, not looking at each other, but at the wall across from us. I would hung my sketch of Mr. Terupt there. You really think you want to see him? Mom asked. Yes. It's not going to be easy. He's going to have machines and tubes hooked up to him. He's not going to look at you or say anything. I know. Luke was talking in school about his visit. He said it was scary. And I don't like you being around Anna or her mother, but I also think it's probably better that you go with their friends than alone. Charlie could drop me off and pick me up. The bed bounced as I twisted to face Mom. I sounded like she was about to agree. Please, Anna. It was time for us to go to the hospital. Jessica and her mother were already at my house. Our mom sat in the kitchen drinking coffee like they often do now. Jessica and I sat around with some books, but even she found it difficult to focus enough to read. Delaney's here, I announced as soon as I saw the pickup truck pull into our snowy driveway. Mom came to the porch door to greet her with me. Oh my goodness, I heard Mom say to herself. She didn't even realize I was staring right at her. Same old red farm truck. Did she knew that truck? I didn't get it. Hi, Delaney, I said as Delaney came up the steps. This is my mom, Terry. Hi, Delaney, Mom said. Come on in and out of the cold. Delaney stomped the snow off her shoes on our welcome mat. I took her coat and hung it in our rack. It's nice to finally meet you. Anna has told me so much about you, Mom said. They shook hands. It's nice to meet you too, ma'am, Delaney said back. Thank you for letting me come with you. I'm glad you joined us, Mom said, and you can call me Terry. I led Delaney farther into our house. When I looked back, Mom stood gazing out the door. After a few seconds, she turned away. She smiled at me and said, why don't you give Delaney a quick tour of the house and hang out for a few minutes, then we'll go. What are you looking at? I asked. Nothing really. That's my brother Charlie, who dropped me off, Delaney said. I didn't know you had a brother, I said. Yeah, he's 27, a lot older than me. He works on the farm with my dad and grandpa. I looked at Mom. She's 27 too. He drives that red Ford everywhere, Delaney said. Always has, Mom said. Does it still have a dent in the driver's side door? Yes, ma'am, Delaney said. My jaw dropped. What was going on? How did Mom know that? And why wasn't Delaney as shocked as me about her knowing? I looked at Mom, but before I could get anything out of my mouth, I didn't know what to say anyway. She said, a quick tour, Anna. Delaney, you're young, just like my brother. I wanted to say to Anna's mother, but I didn't want to be disrespectful. So I didn't say anything as she stood staring out the door at Charlie. I could tell Anna was playing matchmaker again, but I didn't say anything about that either. My family would have never wanted to see Charlie and Terry together, never. I always met Jessica's mom. She was very nice. You can call me Julie or Miss Rightman, whichever you're more comfortable saying, she said. Anna's house was simple but nice. I guess she didn't need a big old house when it was only you and your mom. The thing I liked best about Anna's place was the artwork hanging on some of the walls. I took a closer look at one sketch and read the name Terry Adams at the bottom. Anna's mother was an artist. I looked down at the sketch I hold in my hands. That one that came from my bedroom wall. I had brought it to leave in Mr. Terupt's room. Miss Adams must have noticed me looking at her work and my work. Is that one of your sketches? She asked. Anna has told me that you're a beautiful artist. I hold the drawing out for her to see, but I didn't say anything. Well, I would say Anna was right. This is a lovely piece, Delaney. Thank you, ma'am, I said. You have done some wonderful thing with shadowing and texture. She pointed at different areas of my sketch. I'm not sure what that means, ma'am, but thank you. Next time you come over, I'll be happy to do some sketching with you, she said. And I'll give you a few pointers if you would like. next time I come over, she had said. And Jessica and her mom joined us. Told you she was amazing sketch artist, Anna said to her mom. Miss Adams smiled at us. Come on, Delaney, I'll show you some of Mom's other drawing in my bedroom. I followed Anna, but not before I returned Miss Adams' smile. I wonder what could possibly be the bad influence in Anna's house. I liked it here, and I liked the two people who lived here. I also knew Grandma wouldn't be as easily convinced. After hanging out in Anna's bedroom, it was time to go. On the car ride, the three of us sat in the back seat. Jessica held her book, Anna held her plant, and I held my special sketch. We were all quiet. I stared out the window at the passing snowbanks and tried to keep from thinking about the snowball day, but that was impossible. For the rest of my life, I knew that the snow would trigger my memory of the accident.
Jessica. Act 9, Scene 2. Characters: me. Julia, my mother. Delaney, my friend. Anna, my friend. Terry, Anna's mother. Action! The elevator doors opened. We stepped into the White Hall. I thought of my first day at school, when my heart had thumped in my chest. The smell of disinfectant had lingered in the hallway. The smell of rubbing alcohol and iodine dominated this hospital hallway. Instead of chatter of school kid arriving from summer vacation, the only thing I could hear was an instant beeping of those scary machines. This was way worse than the first day of school. I swallowed. I gripped and squeezed and fitted with the book in my hand. L. Captain studs my shirt. On that first day, Mr.Turupt had told me that he liked happy endings, so I brought him this book. I knew that he wouldn't be able to see or read it, but I want him to have it. Plus, having something in my hands helped me with my nerves. I'm glad his doctor wasn't too far away. Otherwise, I might not have made it, but I did, and so did Delaney and Anna. We were there for each other. We stopped just outside his door. The black marker spelled out Terupt. I rubbed my finger on it. It didn't smirk. I looked at Delaney and Anna. There was no hiding our fear. My mother and Terry stood beside us for support, but they also let us do this on our own. I looked back at them. We're right here, Mom said. We'll come in with you, Terry added. I took a deep breath and read myself for what I would see. Anna! How are you doing? Mom asked. I shook my head. The hallway was so sad and frightening and long. Beeping and coughing and moaning noises came from everywhere. Mom placed her hand on my shoulder. I'm here, she said. How did you know about the dent in Charlie's truck? I whispered. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I'll tell you later. Do you know him? Yes, I know Charlie, Mom said, but I had no idea he had a little sister. We stopped. Mr. Terupt's door was cracked open, but not enough for me to see inside. Suddenly, my worries and questions about Mom and Charlie vanished. They were quickly replaced by all the worries for Mr. Terupt. Was I ready for this? Delaney, Jessica, and I looked at each other and did our best to prepare for what was coming next. Delaney. There was no turning back. Dear God, it's Delaney. Please be with me. I'm going to need your help. I guess I could have waited in the car or in the lounge, but being with brave friends kept me moving forward. Beep, beep, cough, cough, hack, 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 moan, moan, groan. The cheers of the hospital noises made me cringe. I felt my shoulders pushing into my ears. We walked past an old lady sitting in the hallway. She was shaking and drooling with the wheelchair. I could hear Grandma say, "You better put me in the ground before you send off to one of those places with all this strolling geezer." For a second, I laughed inside, thinking of that, but just for a second, we stopped. The sign on the door said Terupt. The door was partially open, but I couldn't see inside. That's probably a good thing, because I may have run back to the car had I seen what Mr. Terupt looked like. The three of us nodded at each other silently. We were ready, or so we thought. This is when I'll need you most. Jessica. Act 9, Scene 3. Action. Mr. Terup's door stood slightly ajar, so I slowly pushed it open and stepped into his room. He wasn't alone, but he didn't have a roommate. He had a visitor, Alexia. I stopped. Delaney and Anna saw her too. We all stopped. Alexia was by Mr. Terup's bed, her back to us. She didn't know we were there. I could hear her talking to him. Like, I have been trying to be nice, Teach. I have been quiet. I don't know, like, what else to do. I haven't been mean. You'd be happy about that, Teach. I've been doing it your way. But, like, I still need your help. I need you to come back. Everyone needs you back. I stood right there beside Alexia now, and she remained unaware. She buried her face in Mr. Terup's bed and snapped. I looked at my teacher. He rested peacefully in his white bed sheet, emanate tubes going in and out of his body, and screens with green numbers and lines on them, and beeping noises. I felt him telling me what to do. I reached out and placed my hand on Alexia's back. She lifted her head and looked at me through her tear-filled eyes. I started crying then, too. Alexia stood up and we hugged, a big hug. I'm so sorry, she said. I felt her squeeze me too. Me too, I said. I've never been to California, she blabbered. My mom threw my dad out of the house last year. He never got sick. Alexia snapped into my shoulder. I squeezed her tight now. Through choked tears, I said, my dad's not around either. He's still in California with his girlfriend. We held the hug, not with lazy arms, but strong arms. We squeezed all our sorries out in that hug. When we let go, Alexia hugged Delaney and Anna just the same. Tears filled all our eyes now, even my mom's and Terry's. We sat in the chair next to Mr. Terup's bed. We sat on both sides and said nothing. I placed my book on the stand next to his bed. Anna put her plant by the window, and Delaney tacked her sketch to a wall. We thought our new thoughts and stares at our teachers, who lay motionless with his eyes closed. Yet somehow I felt better. The power of Mr. Terupt, even in his coma, made something huge transparent. I felt light, like I could float. The past had been buried, and we were ready to move forward. When it came time to leave, I touched Mr. Terup's hand and whispered, "Thank you." Then I walked out with my 3 friends. Alexia. There was no way I could stay away forever, especially after hearing Luke say he had been to the hospital. I didn't have a dad take me, and my mom was waiting tables from noon to closing time every day of the week now. That made it easy for me, because there wasn't anyone at home to say, "Where do you think you're going?" or "You aren't going anywhere." But I was still scared. I made my mind up, rode my bike there one day after school. I knew what room he was in because I heard Luke say it. When I got there, I went straight to the elevator and up to his floor. "Can I help you, honey?" one of the nurses asked as I hurried down the hall. I didn't look at her. I just shook my head and kept going until I found the room. I walked in. My hands flew to my mouth. I knew Teach couldn't move, but I hadn't expected him to be hooked up to so many tubes. I stood frozen for a long time. Slowly, I found the courage to tiptoe closer to his bed. "Hi, Teach," I said. "It's Lexi." Already, I fought back tears. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have been mean to you. I wanted to hate you for saying those things to me. But you were right, Teach." I knelt next to his bed and pulled his blanket in my fist. Then the big tears came. Raindrop tears. They poured from me. I couldn't help it. I cried like I used to do when Mom and Dad would fight. I snored for a few minutes before I wiped my face on his cover. Teach just looked like he was sleeping. Was he really going to die? I'm doing better now, Teach. I'm not being mean. You'd be happy. I squeezed his blanket in my fist again and clenched my jaw to fight back more raindrop tears. Teach, there's something else I need to tell you. I'm not sure, but I think I saw Peter leaving here. Like, he's the one who threw the snowball, Teach. I knew he didn't mean it. He didn't want this to happen. He loves you. All of us do. I dabbed my eyes with his blanket. I cried more now, but I kept talking to him. Peter hasn't, said anything in school. He hasn't talked to anyone, not a word. But no one's trying to talk to him either. He didn't throw the snowball, even if he didn't mean for it to hit you. So it's still his fault. I felt bad for Peter. Everything was such a mess, and I had so many mixed up feelings. I had my face in his blanket when I felt the tap on my shoulder. I looked up and Jessica was there, and so were Delaney and Anna. I hugged them. I told them I was sorry, and then it was over. All of a sudden, I had 3 friends. Teach helped me, even in his coma. I missed him so much, he had to wake up. I had never felt so happy and sad at the same time before. Anna. Charlie is Delaney's 27-year-old single brother. He's the one who dropped Delaney off at my house, and he's the one who arrived to pick her up after our hospital trip. He didn't get out of his red truck and come to our door because he didn't need to. Delaney was ready. Next time, I'll keep her busy so he has to ring our doorbell. Thanks for taking me tonight, ma'am, Delaney said as we stood on the porch. You're welcome over anytime, Delaney, Mom said. I'd love it if we could draw together. Delaney smiled at that idea. See you tomorrow, I said. We hugged. Thanks, she whispered. We watched her walk out to the farm truck with the dented door. I hold my breath with the hope for an entire long minute. Then I was rewarded. Charlie turned his head and looked back. I saw a smile and friendly wave, a wave that Mom gladly returned. I walked to my bedroom and sat on my bed, suddenly exhausted. Mom sat next to me. Quite an afternoon, huh? She said. Yes, I said. Poor Lexi. No dad for her either. Everybody's got a story, Anna. I lay down and rested my head on my pillow. Mom lay down next to me. Is Mr. Terupt going to be okay? I asked. I don't know, honey, Mom said. I sure hope so. She wrapped her arm around me and I started to cry. Is it my fault? I asked. Mom sat up. Is what your fault? Mr. Terupt laying in that bed? Anna, how could it possibly be your fault? Mom sounded shocked. Because I'm one of the kids who got Peter mad enough to throw that snowball. Anna, you listen to me. She sounded almost mad now. Look at me. Her eyes narrowed on mine. You didn't throw that snowball, nor did you force Peter to throw it. I'm not sure whose fault it is that this happened or if it even matters, but I do know it's not yours. Do you understand me? I just want him to be okay. I know, honey. Me too. I have never thought I had the courage to ask my mom the next thing that came out of my mouth, but my feeling just poured out after Mr. Terupt like that. Do you ever blame me for what happened to you all those years? Blame you? Is it my fault that you were autistic? Anna, honey, please tell me you're not being serious. I didn't say anything. My goodness. Mom placed her hand on my cheek and spoke softly. And I consider myself lucky to have you. I would adore all that pain again in an instant so that I could have you. I have never blamed you, nor will I. You're everything to me. A tear fell from Mom's face and landed on mine. I've always been afraid that you had ended up hating me for bringing you into this situation, Mom said. You're the best mom ever, I said. I love you. I love you too. Mom bent forward and we hugged. Then she kissed me on the cheeks and lay back down next to me. I wanted to ask her about Charlie, but I was wiped out, so I closed my eyes.
Delaney. I'm glad I went to see Mr. Terupt. It wasn't easy, but it would have been a lot harder alone. I don't know how Lexi did it, but I'm glad she was there, because now we're friends again. I don't think she will be mean anymore. I think Mr. Terupt helped her. Right from his coma, he helped the 4 of us make wrongs right. I didn't know about Jessica's father. She seemed so perfect. I thought her family was too. I used to think Lexi was so lucky as well. Maybe I'm the lucky one, even with the extra meat on my bones. Maybe we're all lucky for having Mr. Terupt. I have been trying to figure out why the accident happened. Every night I pray and ask for help making sense of my tragedy. Mr. Terupt helped Lexi and us, and he helped me make it over to Anna's house. I want to go again. Her mom's very nice, and when he picked me up, I noticed that Charlie seemed to like looking at her. I decided not to say anything though, not to Charlie, or about wanting to go over to Anna's again. Not yet. At home, Mom and Grandma asked me how my visit went as soon as I walked into the kitchen. Did that woman do or say something crazy? Grandma wanted to know. Was she okay? Mom asked gently. She seemed fine, Charlie said. He came to my rescue and then walked out of the room. She was friendly and I liked her. I said, can we just pray together for Mr. Terupt? I'm late, it's late, and I'm tired. Sure, sweetie, Mom said. I could tell that Grandma didn't like this one bit, but she went along with it. In school the next day, Jeffrey asked a lot of questions about our visit. He had asked Luke questions too. How many tubes did they have hooked up to him? What was the name of the stuff they're putting into him? Were they giving him blood? What was his heart rate? Jeffrey, stop, I said. We don't know the answers and your questions are upsetting me. Sorry, he said. You should just go yourself. I saw him exchange a look with Jessica. I got the feeling that there was something I didn't know. Sorry, he said again, then he walked away. Dear God, it's Delaney. Things down here are getting harder. I'm doing my best, but it's not that easy. Thanks for returning Alexia, a brand new Alexia. I'm very grateful for that, but I'm about to ask for more. Mr. Terupt, he really needs you. He looked terrible when I saw him. There are so many of us down here that want him back so badly. He's the best teacher any of us ever had. And I just know he's got a lot of good left to do here. Comfort him if he hurts. And please heal him. There's Jeffrey too. I saw the look he gave Jessica. Something is up with him. Please help him. And I would like to pray for Jessica and Alexia and Anna, all three of them without dads. That's just another reason why we need Mr. Terupt back. And last of all, I want to pray for me. I would like to go over to Anna's house again. Maybe you can help me with that. I've also been thinking a lot about who's to blame for Mr. Terupt's accident. I thought it was Peter because he threw the snowball, but after seeing Mr. Terupt, I'm wondering if it was me. I'm the one who suggested going outside, and I helped push Peter down, so I don't think I'm completely innocent. Please forgive me. Amen. Luke. I didn't think it would be as difficult going to see Mr. Terupt the second time. I knew what to expect. I was wrong. Seeing Mr. Terupt in that bed again wasn't any easier. I thought he would look better. I thought he was improving, but he looked the same, still just laying there in his bed, surrounded by the same beeps and tubes and monitors and noises from the hall. It was all the same. I felt the lump in my throat growing. Mom's hand touched my shoulder. She saw it happening too. I stood at the side of my teacher's bed in a state of disbelief, feeling helpless. Then the doctor walked in. At least I figured he was the doctor. He had salt and pepper hair, a white coat, and a smart face. He nodded to us and moved toward Mr. Terupt. He checked some numbers and fluids, pulled back Mr. Terupt's eyelids to look at his pupil with his pen light, and then started to leave. Wait, I said, wait. He stopped and turned around. Are you Mr. Terupt's doctor? I asked. Yes, I'm Dr. Winklins, one of the physicians. Is Mr. Terupt going to get better? I saw him take a deep breath. He looked at my mother first, then me. I don't know, son. What's wrong with him? He's in a coma, but what's wrong with him? Dr. Winklins pulled some chairs over for all of us to sit in. He sat across from me. Mr. Terupt did a lot of wrestling when growing up, and even into college, he started to explain. It turned out he had to give it up because he suffered multiple concussions along the way. This concussion had weakened his brain in certain regions. The snowball that was thrown hit one of these weaker areas, the temporal region, to be exact, and it cracked his skull. Dr. Winklins looked very sorry as he said this. I don't know if he expected questions, but I had them. Does that mean Mr. Terupt wouldn't be in coma if he hadn't suffered a multiple concussion? I asked. I can't say for sure, but probably not. What do you do now? Just wait. Dr. Winklins took another big breath. I got the sense there was more question to the equation. More bad news, or news he was hoping not to share. He glanced at my mother, who nodded, giving him the okay to explain. I don't want a sugarcoat report. I want the facts, and my mom knew it. Mr. Terupt has some bleeding going on behind his crack, and blood is collecting in his brain. We hope it would stop, but it hasn't. He'll need to undergo brain surgery so that we can clot the bleeding vessels. And then he'll be okay. If it works, hopefully yes. I heard the word if loud and clear. And if it doesn't, I said, brain surgery is risky. There's always a chance the patient won't recover. You mean die? I said. Mom put her arm around me. What's your name, son? Luke. Yes, Luke, your teacher could die during or as a result of the surgery, but I'm going to do my very best not to let that happen. I got up and stood by Mr. Terupt's bed. I looked at him. Dr. Winklins got up and stood next to me. He's a pretty special teacher, isn't he? The doc said. I could only nod. Speaking would have made me cry like a baby. I'll do my best, Luke. That much I can promise. He squeezed my shoulder and left the room. Brain surgery, I thought. Mr. Terupt might never come back. I ran out into the hall. Dr. Winklins, I yelled. He turned around. Does anyone else in my class know what you told me? Dr. Winklins walked back toward me. We didn't know anything about this concussion at first, he said, but another teacher, Mrs. Newberry, was able to provide us with Mr. Terupt's background information. I guess Mr. Terupt had told her about his wrestling days, and it's a good thing because we have no other contact person for him. I stood there quiet. No other person? There was nobody for Mr. Terupt. But to answer your question, there is another student in your class who knows what I told you, Dr. Winklins said. Who? I think he said his name was Peter. I was silent. Peter? I didn't think Peter had been here. Dr. Winklins turned to leave. Wait, I said. Does Peter know about the concussion or just the brain surgery is next? Just about the brain surgery. Why do you ask? Because Peter threw the snowball.